Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd like to yield 2 minutes to a member of the Budget Committee, a gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Young.
Gentleman from Indiana is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, the good people of Indiana want jobs, and you know what? We know how to create them. In Indiana, under Governor Mitch Daniels, we've seen a government that spends less and taxes modestly, and you know what? We've seen that leads to job growth. That's why Indiana, during these tough economic times, is a national leader in private sector job growth. The Budget Committee crafted a budget for our federal government that, like Indiana, spends less and keeps a lid on taxes. And the result is a plan that will help create 2.5 million private sector jobs by the end of this decade. Now, recent economic history isn't good to the big spenders. It shows that borrowing and spending trillions of dollars that we don't have doesn't create jobs. And jobs won't be created if we go along with the president's plan and seemingly the plan of sorts from the other side of the aisle to increase taxes. It's no great secret that the job creators in this country aren't hiring because unchecked spending, of course, leads to fears. It leads to fears that we're going to have to raise taxes in the future. It leads to fears of future inflation. And it, of course, leads to fears that interest rates are going to go up. By calling for a measure of spending discipline, as we do, we replace that fear with hope. Hope that we can restore conditions where private sector job creators can go out and put Americans back to work. That's what the people of southern Indiana want. Now, I mentioned Indiana a minute ago and the success we've had in creating those private sector jobs. We didn't do it all through our policies with respect to spending. Instead, we also looked at tax policy. We understood that it just didn't make sense to jack up taxes during a down economy. Instead, we kept them steady and we made our tax code more efficient, just as some of our neighboring states were doing the opposite. As a result, many businesses chose to move back to Indiana or to move to Indiana for the first time. We see the reverse trend nationally, unfortunately. Many businesses are leaving this great country or just not getting off the ground because of our job-destroying tax code and because of our punitive corporate tax rates. Mr. Speaker, we improve upon those previous policies. We learn from the errors of the past. I urge my colleagues to help us create jobs by voting yes on this House Republican budget.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I yield back the balance of time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Wisconsin reserves. Chair recognizes the gentleman from